Hello and welcome back to another KCC video. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Our first story today comes to us from Anisless. Don't say that too fast. Your working hours are 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Let's jump right in. About 4 years back, I started a new banking job. All was well, just that the management was pretty strict with timekeeping, which was weird as we were back office. My experience was in a similar field at another bank, and we had flexible schedules and received time in lieu. But rules are rules, so I followed them. I learnt my tasks and got to know the wider team. Anyway, about 4 months in, I started to realize my senior manager didn't like me. I'm pretty assertive as a person, and I do know how to stand up for myself. He hated it. I would speak up during the meetings, ask questions, give questions, and so on, while the team would stay quiet. The week everything went south, I was working overtime, which was obviously unpaid. On Thursday, I did nearly 2 hours of overtime. On Friday, I thought I'll leave a few minutes early as I was done for the week. My manager was off, I left 10 minutes early. On Monday, I come to work, and I got called into a meeting straight away. There were 3 of us in the room, myself, my manager, and my senior manager. Our conversation went as follows. I heard you left work early on Friday. I did, I left 10 minutes early. Did you ask permission to leave early? It was 10 minutes. You know I did about 4 hours of overtime last week. Why are we having this conversation? Because you left early without asking for permission. As a senior, you should be setting an example for the rest of the team. Is this a joke? Your working hours are 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., not 9 a.m. to 5:50. You shouldn't leave early without asking your manager or my permission first. Is that clear? Got it. It's perfectly clear. I listened and started coming into the office at 9 a.m. and leaving at 6 p.m. on the dot. At first, they didn't realize what was happening, but the week after the meeting was the last week of the month. And let's say the last week of the month was intense, especially the final day. The reports had to be completed, signed off, and submitted before the month's end. We covered multiple jurisdictions and would deal with Southeast Asia in the morning and the Americas in the evening. Our team was expected to work overtime due to this. Here comes Friday, the last day of the month, showtime. I'm at my desk at 9 a.m. sharp. Most of the team have already been at the office for at least an hour. I, of course, have a cup of coffee from the cafeteria because I was a bit early. My manager looks at me and raises his eyebrow, but he doesn't say anything. Work, break time. We had 2 20-minute paid breaks and 1 hour unpaid lunch. I'm the only person to go on my break. Lunchtime, everyone was eating at their desks while I go meet my friends for lunch. On the second break, I once again leave my workplace and go for a short stroll around. Back to work, about 5:45 p.m., I get a call from one of the senior managers in the US. She needs the report amended. There were 4 of us on that call. I'm doing the amendments as we speak and closely monitoring the time. I see it's 2 minutes to 6 p.m., 1 minute, 6 p.m. Senior Manager 2 was rambling about the report. Apologies, but I have to stop you right here. Yes, it's 6 p.m. here. My day is over. Huh? As per my management, my working hours are 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., so I must leave now. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up on Monday. I logged off, got my coat, wished everyone a great weekend, and left. It was 6:04 p.m. Both my manager and my senior manager were dumbfounded by what has happened. Looking pale and staring at me in disbelief, it was a glorious sight. I wanted to apologize to my senior manager that I wasn't able to leave at 6 p.m. on the dot, but I thought that would have been way too passive-aggressive, so I just left. I relaxed the rule a bit after a few months, yet I never did more than 30 minutes of overtime. Ironically, once my stakeholders understood that I will not be available for 10 plus hours, they started collaborating earlier in the month. I would have most of my reports done and submitted by the last day of the month. This right here is the kind of malicious compliance that I love. You're entitled to your breaks. You're entitled to leave at the end of your shift. Do it. Go home. Teach them a lesson. If they fire you or retaliate, take them to the labor board. Honestly, too many people get screwed at work. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second story today comes to us from Tubis61. Doesn't work that way here. Let's jump right in. A few years ago, I was working in a company that was bought out by another company based in the US. Apologies to our friends over the other side of the Atlantic, but some folks over there don't get that things sometimes work differently in other countries. I've always been a bit of a hothead, and I'm also a big fan of trade unions. Not long after the takeover, there were hints of some issues within the company margins. It seemed that original management had hidden some costs in the takeover talks, and there was a shortfall. We all got an email telling us that there was going to be a 10% reduction in salaries to cover this. Now, this didn't go down too well, and I immediately raised the issue with local HR. They told me the decision had come from the mothership in the US, and they had been told all discussions needed to go via the US. I contacted someone in the US HR team and said, "You can't do this. It breaks our laws in this country." The response was, "You work for a US company now, our rules apply." I said I was pretty certain that's not how it worked, and if my salary was cut, I would be taking this further and would be discussing this with my union. The person in HR said, "Do what you want. We don't recognize unions. Knock yourself out." I spoke to the union office and was told exactly what to do. They effectively told me what the exact steps for malicious compliance were going to be. Sure enough, my next salary was 10% short. I immediately submitted a formal grievance report stating the company was in breach of contract. No changes to my pay and conditions can be imposed without first renegotiating my contract, and I had to agree to that. The response from HR in the US was, "Let's be kind here," not backed up by an understanding of employment law in this country. I was told there was nothing I could do about it. They set the rules, and that was it. The next stage of malicious compliance then kicked in. I had all their emails. I had my formal grievance and their response. I sent an email to my line manager, our HR, and HR in the US, stating I considered that I had been placed in a situation where the company was in breach of contract and that I had no option other than to leave the company with immediate effect. I also stated that I classed this as constructive dismissal and would be filing a case at an employment tribunal for wrongful termination as a result. Roll the clocks on a couple of months and we are in that employment tribunal. The company has sent the head of HR across, and I'm waiting there with my support from the union. We walk into the tribunal and the relevant parties are introduced. The head of HR with his smirking face, the local head of HR looking less relaxed, myself and my legal representative, a barrister. As soon as the head of HR heard I was with a barrister, his smug look evaporated. HR presented their case, and then my barrister set out every single aspect of employment law here to the tribunal. He pointed out every mistake they made, every local law they broke, that the law in the US only applied in the US, not in any other country. He pointed out that I had a long, unblemished record with the company, and that this case had come at a very high personal cost to me, and that finding another job would need more training and could take up to a year. It took less than 10 minutes to find against the company. They had to repay the deducted wages to every single employee in this country rather than fight a significant number of similar cases. I was asked if I wanted my job back, but told the tribunal I didn't feel I could work there without being subject to reprisals. I was awarded the maximum basic award and a significant compensatory award of a full year's salary, which let me take a year out to complete some additional technical training at their expense. I also got a glowing reference for my next employer. It cost me nothing for my barrister. That was all funded by the union. Those guys are the royalty of applying malicious compliance. They can apply the law down to its very finest point. I don't want to razz on the US too much because you do represent 65% of my viewers, but this is completely true. The US companies have no idea what the laws are in the other countries that they're trying to operate in. I've seen this myself in at least 3 places I've worked at. Now, the interesting thing in this one is that this US company sent email proof that they were violating the local labor laws, and they were sued, and they sent down only their head of HR. No lawyers. Something is wrong here. This company is dumb. Our third story today comes to us from Our Soul. Oh, really? Our Soul. Another one. Guess that's gonna be a trend today. I'm not paid to think? Okay, let's jump right in. Whilst working in a job that I'd been doing for 15 years, the company brought in a freshly manufactured degree-waiving manager. Any problems within the production area, I was always called in to troubleshoot for them and get things moving again. Mr. F. Wittery, the new manager, asked me what I was doing one day, and I told him that I was just thinking how to resolve a recurring issue in production. His response was, "We don't pay you to think, get back to your own job." Okay, Mr. F. Wittery, on my way. Cue malicious compliance. 2 hours later, I get a call from the production supervisor asking for help as line 6 was down again. Sorry, Steve, call the Mr. F. Wittery, he's in charge, and apparently I'm not paid to think. Tenoy goes calling me to the office. Mr. F. Wittery is a rare shade of red with anger, informs me that I need to go sort out the issue in production. Sorry, sir, I can't do that, as I don't get paid to think, and leave his office, smiling all the way back to my department. Line in production is shut down for 2 whole shifts, with people standing around scratching their heads. MD comes to visit the next day and wants to know why the line is off. Maintenance guy tells him he can't understand why it won't work properly. MD says, "Has Tom had a look for you?" Maintenance guy says, "Tom won't come over because apparently he's not paid to think." MD says, "Who the hell said that to him?" Maintenance guy tells him Mr. F. Wittery told him that when he had just helped us out the other day. MD calls Mr. F. Wittery to the line and tells him that I'd been with the company since he founded it, and I know more about this production facility than the people who designed it. And WTF are you doing telling long-term staff that they're not paid to think? MD calls me to ask if I can help out as a favor to him. I came across and spent 5 minutes realigning a couple of sensors, and the line was restored. MD takes me to lunch, offers me an extra $150 a week, and tells me that the only person I answer to in the future is him and only him. To this day, that manager still scowls whenever I see him around. That director sounds like a really good person. It really makes me wonder though how that manager still has a job there. But in the end, OP, now you are being paid to think. In fact, you're being paid more than you were before. Good work. Our last story today comes to us from Spooky Void Cat. This malicious compliance might sink his career. Let's jump right in. I work in a restaurant, and on this particular day, I was on bar with a coworker. There had been basically no customers for a couple hours, and we had already stocked up and cleaned everything we could reach, so we were just hanging out at that point. Enter Todd. He had recently been promoted from waitstaff to team leader, and had transformed from a genuinely cool and chill guy to an arrogant hardbutt practically overnight. He was always on everybody's butts to work harder, and could never admit he was ever wrong about anything. He comes in and is immediately on the offensive, which is fair enough as we were just kinda stood around drinking tea at that point. He's listing off all the jobs we should be doing, and in turn, we confirm that we've already done each and every one of them. This seems to only piss him off more, and he starts listing more and more obscure jobs in an attempt to catch us out. He points to the large metal utility sink under the bar and asks if we've cleaned that. Yes, of course we have. He actually gets his phone out and uses the flashlight to peer down the half-inch gap between the sink and the wall. "Oh no, you haven't," he exclaims, the smugness in his voice so thick you could spread it on toast. "You need to pull this out and clean behind it. It has to be done properly." "Pull it out?" I ask. "Yes, God, it's not that hard to understand, is it?" he huffs. Now, anyone who has worked in a bar or a kitchen probably knows what one of these looks like, but for anyone who doesn't, you could conceivably be forgiven for thinking it was just a lightweight metal table, except for the fact that, it has a built-in sink on one end of it. But hey, boss knows best, right? I give my coworker a look. We both shrug, grab an end each, and heave as hard as we can. There was a wonderful combination of noises: the squealing of metal against the floor, a sudden crack, and what I can only describe as a comical boink as a pipe broke off and clattered onto the ground. I'm not any sort of plumber, so I can't give details about what broke, but we weren't able to use that sink for several days, and the metal legs left impressive gouges in the linoleum floor. Of course, we got yelled at even though we did as we were told, but Todd never quite lived it down and ultimately didn't last long as a team leader. So I guess what we're saying here is that Todd made a plumb stupid request and the employees just decided to go with the flow. This story is one of the most pure examples of malicious compliance you will ever see. Very well done. Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.